Cause I tried to, I mean, I have a good boy, I can talk to him now. Nice people. That's what it turned out back. What's the name of the decision? That worked out.
No city numbers?
He showed up though.
Not
Called him
yet.
out. I know.
They hadn't had their meeting yet.
When is that? Thought they were gonna have it for us by now.
I emailed them, but, they don't have their meeting until.
Oh, I didn't
The
see
meeting's
that.
supposed to be the 20th, but I don't know if they're gonna have it, cause that's holiday.
I was trying to keep us waiting and coughing the whole week.
She never did email me back, cause I said that she's your
I know,
email
like,
me on the
like,
20th.
it was true.
She never let me know.
We gotta wait and see.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, she'll take up the one.
I'll call her. Cause I tried to call her today, but she was on the other line.
What is our game? Our game date is February. Then I
It
just.
has to be in the paper, the deadline to run it was February 1st. Deadline to run it. It has to be in the paper by February 1st.
So we still have time.
As long as she can get it in the paper.
Are they, any city officials here tonight? I don't see any. Okay. Yes, well, yes. Yeah, let me go ahead and get started. I don't wanna. Thank you. Y'all ready? All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. County Attorney has the honor and privilege of opening up the first meeting of every year. Our first order of business will be to select the chairman. It's up to the board, but as first order of business, I ask for nominations for the selection for chairman.
I'll make a nomination that Dale remain as chairman of, the 2025 year.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Mr. Jump, you are now chairman, and if you will, take over.
All right, we'll open the floor for vice chairman, and I'd like to nominate Mr. Spillers. Make a motion to nominate Mr. Spillers.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Who seconded?
I think
I'm sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Then?
All right, if y'all would, welcome. Let's all stand and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor of invocation.
Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the day you give us, Lord. Thank you for this board we've gathered here, Lord. Guide us in the direction you have us go to better this county and just help us through the decisions we make. Amen.
Amen.
And I'd like to take a minute too and introduce Mr. Troy Cook. For those of y'all that don't know him, he's new on board and I'd like to welcome him.
I like myself.
Congratulations.
And Mr. Melvin
Formally.
Smith here. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. You got that, Joe?
Yeah.
All right, I need a motion to approve the regular scheduled meeting of December 17th.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Hey, on that question real quick,
Mhm.
would these two still sign the minutes? Or
They can. You've reviewed them? So long as they review them, they were both present at that meeting, correct? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I was just curious.
So,
Generally, you don't if you're not present, but they were select and they were here.
Okay.
so we gotta update the names on them. and-
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
We'll need to update the name. For this meeting, you can just mark out the previous name and write it in, and we'll just keep that as a record of the original.
Give me the sheet you got.
So the
All right.
executive
I
session.
need a motion to approve the executive session meeting for December 17th.
I make a motion we approve.
I second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Motion carried.
Now the executive,
They would not.
they would not, right?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so, did you read it?
Typically.
You got ones that you signed?
No.
These, if you all will just mark them. That they were present. Was your executive session meeting today? Good, thank you. Can I have this with this?
So you leave it in?
Yeah, you mark it.
To
You got somebody at the coach there, who did it? That is coach. Yes. They got somebody. So, you were
I do a bunch of stuff like that.
All right, moving along, we have no appearances, public hearings, any announcements, info, CPI.
Not today.
All right, no old business, plenty of new business. All right, we got the top 3 priorities for 2025.
Okay, commissioners, I think it's been the last 2 years, previous years, the top three priorities been budget, roads and grants, I'm sorry. Budget, roads, and grants. And so, as a board, I want you all to come together and decide if those are the 3 things that you want again for 2025, and let me know at the next commissioner meeting. That's it.
Any questions around that?
No, I got one comment on the budget cycle though. Instead of budget, I'm gonna say cut budgets.
Cut budget, okay.
I'm gonna be very specific on the task at hand versus such as large scope. We get a little bit more specific on it.
Okay. All right, so you gonna give me that at the next meeting?
Huh? That was just my thought process. I thought that. Also,
Alright.
can you tell me next meeting how many grants we got this year?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, anything else? All right, moving on, need to set the 2025 qualifying fees.
Okay, so the qualifying fees have to be set by the county, and the city. So they have municipal elections this year, and Ms. Cook and I have been dealing with this for a little while. We still don't have the city numbers, but we're working on getting those. We have the county numbers based upon the statutory requirements for each position. Each position is calculated differently as to the qualifying fee based upon a statute that goes with that particular election. So if it's a constitutional officer versus a general officer, etc. They're all different. So we can pass the resolution tonight if you want, or we can wait till the next meeting. We still have time, so we have one more meeting between now and when it's due, which is February.
Is there any reason for us to pass it tonight? Do you want us to pass it tonight?
Well, we prepped it for tonight, but
We
yeah.
prepped it for tonight because the county did not want to delay the process because they wanted to go ahead and get it in the paper as quickly as possible. But since we don't have the city numbers, you can wait till the next board meeting as long as it's given to Georgia Post in enough time for them to run it in the paper by February the 1st.
So is it better for us to go and approve it tonight? Is it gonna help you for your, none of us are gonna have an argument with it.
The thing is, we can't have any mishaps, it will have to be in the paper.
I've got a question. You're talking about city numbers. County commissioners don't set that. City council sets the city
Correct.
numbers, right?
So years ago, what was it, 2017, I think it was? 2017, we made a deal with the city. They came to us and they said they couldn't afford to run their own elections.
Right.
So they came to us and we did an agreement with them where we would run their elections, but they had to provide us the qualifying fees and then they paid us for how much our actual cost was to run that election for them.
Right, but we don't have to vote on their qualifying
We-
fees. Their city council.
No,
will
what
vote
we
that.
do is we pass a resolution that sets the qualifying fees. So what we have are two exhibits. We have a resolution and Exhibit A, which outlines all the county qualifying fees, which Ms. Sanders and Ms. Cook took care of. We already have that. Exhibit B, which is listed in the resolution, is the city's qualifying fees. We do not have that. We have put Exhibit B into the resolution already, but we don't have their actual numbers.
Okay, so if we vote on this tonight, we'd have to still come back and vote on a resolution for the city? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
what we would do is we would have to pass the resolution with it just saying Exhibit B, because the numbers are not in the resolution. We would just be saying that whatever the qualifying fees set by the city are what Exhibit B represents. So legally speaking, you can pass it tonight because of the way it's set up, but personally, I would recommend that we wait, but with the understanding that Ms. Cook and Ms. Sanders are absolutely correct. They have to get us their numbers, and they have to have it ready and set for us on the next meeting, because it has to go in the paper, or else we won't make the advertisement requirement. Okay?
So they only have one meeting a month, and their meeting is Monday the 20th. And I'm not sure, because I never got a direct answer back to whether they were gonna have their meeting or not.
That's the actual holiday too.
Right.
So Ms. Barber, it's gonna be better for us to home pass it tonight. I'm asking you.
That's it.
The only
It's completely up to y'all, that's on y'all, I mean,
The only other way around that would be for them to have a called meeting, but we haven't heard back, so.
So it's not gonna make a difference either way.
It's not. If you wanna pass it tonight, you can, because I wrote it specifically to not include the numbers in the resolution. The numbers are only contained.
And we have no
in the-
control over that anyway, so.
We
just
do
put
not
our
have
numbers.
control over
The
that.
only thing we have to, can you go back to the fees real quick? All the fees stay the same, or are they all just by state?
that's a question for Sharon.
All of them stayed the same except for corner. The language for corner changed, and so it was 3% of his total salary. So it's 543.
I make a motion, we approve.
Got a motion? Do we got a second? Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Smith, second. All right. Rec board appointments.
Doug is here.
Doug.
Do you wanna stand up and present the people?
Good to see y'all. I have 3 rec board appointments, or reappointments. They've all reapplied for their positions, but I had one member step down, so I have a total of 4. I'm not sure of all the applicants, but I do know of one for that 4th spot, that I could, give a recommendation for.
You had
Yeah, the 3 members that are,
Jonathan Newberry.
Okay.
You had Terrence Searcy,
he's already on the board, he's seeking reappointment.
Mr. Gillespie, Pete Gillespie.
I'm not sure who that is.
He's right here.
He's right here, I think.
Okay.
Second row. Craig Puckett.
He's seeking reappointment.
You got 4 seats?
Technically, yes.
Cedric
Price.
Price.
Chadwick Price.
Chadwick Price.
Chadwick's on the board. He's seeking reappointment.
Okay.
So what was the 3 reappointments you're seeking?
Craig Puckett, Chadwick Price, Terrence Searcy. They're all active within the rec department. I can give you a recommendation for each one if you need me to.
Then you're gonna need one more out of the rest.
Yeah, out of the 2
So
others
Jonathan
that you
Christopher
named.
Newberry or Cecil Phillips?
Correct.
You all will discuss that in executive session.
Yeah.
Are any of you here that's on?
Jonathan's
Would you
back
like to
there.
would you like to say anything?
I've been actively involved with the rec department for maybe 6 or 7 years now, whether it's been coaching or field maintenance. So,
And what was your name?
Jonathan Newberry.
Jonathan Newberry. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. P.
Yeah, I haven't been active, but in '84, '85, I started Little League here, and then right after that, I started rec football. I coached, I managed, built the first concession stand down there, and I saw we had a original field down there, and then we built what we called the C-ball field back then. And I coached many years, but that's my only qualification, so I applied for the rec board.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thanks.
consideration.
Anybody else?
Craig, Terrence, and Chadwick aren't here. Terrence and Chadwick are at basketball. I think the high school had something going on, so Craig's there. So.
All right. You gonna hang around for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll be here.
All right, planning and zoning board appointments.
Yes, you had 9 people to apply for the P&Z board appointment. Tammy,
Is Tammy?
is Tammy here? Okay,
Would you like
that's
to
Tammy.
say that? The floor is yours, if you need it.
Huh?
I said the floor is yours,
Oh.
if you need it.
Can I sit?
You can.
I'm Tammy Grauman. I've been in Crawford County for 2 years. I'm originally a Monroe Countian. I lived in Culloden for 30 years, so I was only about 10 miles away. The last 5 years, probably 5 or 6 years, I worked for the City of Forsyth as the Economic Development Director. I also was the DDA Director, the Main Street Coordinator, Planning and Zoning Officer. I also issued business license and permits. I did that for about 5 years. And I took some time off, did some traveling out west, came back, made a change, moved to Crawford County, been here for 2 years, like I said, and wanted to get back involved in the community because that's what I like to do and I enjoy it. So
And how do you pronounce your last name?
it's Grauman. I'm originally a Pearson from Culloden, so I made a lot of changes in the last couple of years, so it's easy to go back because I was a Pearson for 30 years, and most people know me as Tammy Pearson from Forsyth.
Okay.
Now I'm Tammy Grauman from Crawford County.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Weeks.
You mind if I go to the podium? First of all, I'd like to thank Melvin and also the Crawford County Board of Commissioners office reaching out to all of the candidates and letting us know to be here tonight. So I want to, I just prepared a speech, if you will, and I'm gonna read it, if you don't mind. My name is Mike Weeks. I've lived in Crawford County for most of my life. I graduated here and I've raised my family here. I've served our community for 25 plus years with the Crawford County Fire Department, EMS, and EMA. I continue to serve our community today through a company I started with my business partner about 26 years ago. It's really important to have someone who lives in our district to represent our district. I live in District 4 and want to serve the people in my district and the people of Crawford County by being a member of the Planning and Zoning Board. I've learned over the years how important it is to listen to what people are saying and spend time to understand their viewpoint. I'm known in the community as someone who brings people together in a positive manner. Whether we like it or not, change and growth has come to Crawford County, and we need to be ready to look at those facts, find out what our community wants, and then do the best to update our land use book to bring positive changes and represent what our community wants to be in the future. There are two big items that go together that we need to do for planning and zoning over the next 4 years. Update the land use book and attract the right kind of positive business that will benefit the community, not be a hinder to our county. We need to update our land use book to encourage the right businesses to come and call Crawford County home. I'm looking forward to working with the board, the administrator, and the public to ensure our land use book is what's needed to grow our county the right way. I'd love to use my business experience, my experience in serving our county, and my ability to bring people together to put those at work on the P&Z board. I respectfully am requesting to be appointed to the Crawford County Planning and Zoning Board to help our community and our county in a positive way that our people want. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Crawford, what district were you in?
4.
You're 4?
I'm here.
Ms. Tammy?
I think she's one. I think she's
District 1 is
Whitaker,
right?
Whitaker Road, that's gonna be one, District 1. She knows all that.
All right, Miss Cindy Gillespie,
Ms. Gillespie.
floor is yours.
Hi. I put in for the office because I worked for an attorney for about 4 years, and I understand about researching property and the different zoning areas, and I understand that people move into the county and need different things, and you have to look at the laws and look it up. And I'm all for the county. We've lived here for I don't know how many years, for 25 years, and we've done different things for the county too. So I just wanted to put my name out there for the position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
District you?
2, I
Two.
believe. Yeah.
No, you?
No.
3?
Justin, 3. Okay, I'm sorry.
Joshua Brooks.
All right, Mr. Brooks.
I'm Josh Brooks. I'm a local resident. I've been here my entire life since born, pretty much. Here in the county, I've served good and bad. I've had some bad encounters from issuing a few people citations, and on the good side of helping family members out and stuff like that. I enjoy helping everybody. I'm a fast learner. I'm very tech savvy, so anything that has to do with a computer or researching anything or finding anything, good and bad, I can find it. I'm very open. One thing I've always said is you can't teach leadership, but you can teach things that you don't know. So with planning and zoning, there's a lot to learn with that, and I can learn it. But one thing you cannot teach is how to be a leader, and that's what I've always said. And I have my current role right now as a manager at Yancey Rents, and I was pretty much just thrown into a fire and said, here and figure it out. And with that, we deal with roughly about $27 million worth of equipment. I didn't have any idea about any of the equipment, and I learned it pretty quick to where with 3 weeks I was pretty much running the store by myself. And we had some growing pains, but that's with anything. So with this change coming on the planning and zoning board, there's going to be some growing pains and learning and all that. And I'm willing to learn. I do volunteer work. I help everybody out. I'm always available, pretty much Monday through Sunday, anytime, any day. By phone, especially physically, if you give me 20, 30 minutes, I can be there. I've always been that way, and that was from how I was when I was a state trooper here, serving locally as well. So I'm willing to help anything, do anything, and help out.
Thank you, sir.
Stephen Adams. Mr. Adams. No. Mr.
Adams
Subs.
is not here.
Mr. Subs is not here, but each commissioner has a letter that he wrote at your station that you should have for him.
All right, Mr. Romeo.
Looking for, to serve another term in the Planning and Zoning Board. I've been there for about 3 years. Lived here for about 22 years now. I was volunteer fireman before. Being on the board, you have to keep a lot of things in mind. Health, safety, welfare of the Crawford County citizens. And I think I've done that during my term that I've been in.
Thank you. 2, right?
2.
All right, Mr. Wood. John Wood? Hearing none. Mr. Adams is not here.
Does anybody know Mr. Woods' district?
He's in three.
Three.
And Mr. Adams?
District's in.
What?
Carl Sutton, that's you, ain't it?
Mel?
District 4?
Four. Alright, Mr. Suggs is mine.
District 5.
Ms. Patton? Floor is yours, if you want it.
You say District
Well-
1?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for allowing me to serve the citizens of Crawford County and Roberta for the past year and a half. I have completely enjoyed my time on the Planning and Zoning Board, and I hope that I can continue to learn and grow with this county. You have any questions for me?
You guys?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, isn't it?
What district is
Which
she in?
district is
One.
this?
District
One.
1. She lives in District 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Alright, thank y'all,
I've been on.
and we're gonna decide on that next meeting, right?
Can I ask a question of all the candidates for planning and zoning? Of the most recent changes in the land use book, which of those changes is your favorite change?
And you're directing that to who?
To all of the candidates that just came up and spoke. I know, right?
Alright.
It requires them to A, know what the land use book is, B, to know what changes we made to the land use book, which were tough changes last year, right? And then C, to be able to speak to it.
All the changes we made have been for the good of the county.
I think from the commercial aspect of it or the industrial aspect of it and the limitations that
You want somebody with PTSD.
for the citizens by coming in,
You want them with PTSD.
protecting the citizens more so than
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question? Out of the changes that have been made in the past year to the land use book, which one of those were your favorite? I don't know that I really had a favorite, Miss Trudy, but we worked long and hard on everything to do with the rock quarry and with mining and asphalt plants, and I think we made good headway together as a whole group. That's the one that stood out the most to me. Yep. A lot of work on that.
And
Thank you.
And
Thank
truly,
you.
in fairness to some of the ones that just applied, they may not know what changes were made last year.
Right.
You know, or even that there's a land use book.
Right.
I didn't know it before we moved here, so. Yeah.
Alright, thank you. Alright, and we'll decide on that next meeting. Correct?
Yeah.
So thank y'all. Alright, moving on to the ACCG IRMA Georgia First Responder PTSD program.
Yes, House Bill 541 requires each county, city, and city to have coverage on, PTSD coverage on the first responders, communication officers, jailers, deputies, and volunteer firemen. Same ACCG, has set up with this company through MetLife. They're the same company that's our cancer policy for the firemen that we have to do as well. It's gonna cost the county about $10,000 annually to cover them. There's a resolution that was prepped,
Is that total or per person?
total.
Total.
Right at 10,
And that's one
total.
of the things we gotta do.
Gotta do, we don't have a choice.
Statutory.
And there's a resolution as well that's involved. Joel read through, and we will have to adopt the resolution that goes along with it and also cover the first responders.
Any questions?
I got a question, is there another, do we have to go through ACCG and MetLife, or can we shop around for a better price?
They had the best rate. They shopped it as a whole, and this was their recommendation. They did the same
This
thing
was
with our
MetLife?
cancer policy that we had to do on the firemen a couple years ago. Same process.
You said it was with
MetLife, yeah. We already have the firemen covered under them as well. So.
The answer to your question is yes, we can shop it, and yes, we did. This
I have a
is,
question.
this is simply the cheapest option.
Yes, sir.
How many people does that cover? What's the number of firemen?
Our
Yeah.
volunteer firemen, I think we have around 33, if I'm not mistaken. It's around about 33.
10,000 for 33.
And it's
Then the
them
sheriff's
that is the
department,
jailers, the deputies, and the communication officers.
So it's more than 30.
Mm-hmm, yes,
Alright.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Would this be a figure that would come out of their budget under other professional services?
Well, right now, because this just hit us in the middle of a budget year, I probably just pull it out of professional service like admin for this year, and then next year we'll prep it in the budget. So, just whichever budget I can find that have the most, room where I can pull it for right now, because we didn't know about it prior.
Going forward though, it would be.
We'll put it in their budget and try to split it up based on the number of people. Sheriff so much money, or maybe just do it in half. Give him half and chief pay half. So
This year,
yeah.
it's just a budget amendment.
Yeah, it's got to be an amendment. So yeah.
Anything else? I need a motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Mr.
George.
Cook? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right. House Bill 581. Mr. Sherlock.
Okay. For those of you who were at the information meeting, what was that, a week or so ago? You probably have a general idea of House Bill 581. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Who here, by raise of hands, who here knows what House Bill 581 is?
I know a little bit about it.
You know a little bit. Okay. All right. So, ostensibly, the General Assembly had a bunch of complaints. Senators and representatives had a bunch of complaints about tax assessors and taxing authorities around the state, and how the not the millage rate, but the taxable amount, the values of properties around the state was uneven. And some years it would be really high, and some years you wouldn't have a rise at all. We've seen that here. We understand what the issue is. So that's the basis of House Bill 581. So what they attempted to do was create a new rule wherein it would cap CPI, Consumer Price Index. That is a measure of inflation. Everybody understands that? Okay. So what they're going to do is they're trying to tie tax increases via property values to the CPI number, as stated by the state of Georgia, not by the U.S. Okay? So it's internal to the state. So what they're doing is they've created this law that says that either a county and cities opt in by doing nothing, and you are governed by the cap at the state level, or you have to purposefully opt out, which means that there is an entire procedure that I'm going to go through and explain what we are required to do if we want to opt out. Okay? There are pros and cons. I'm not going to get into the politics of what it is. I can only tell you what the law says and what the procedures are. Okay? Y'all will have to hash out whether you like it or don't like it. I don't make a statement as to whether it's any good. Okay. So the history of it was that. That's how it came up before the legislative session. And it was tied to H.R. 1022. I know that's legalese, but what that means is it is tied to the Georgia Constitution. So if you remember back in November, everyone voted on a referendum question. And the question had something to do with homestead. Most people didn't even understand what it meant, but it was voted in by the state, by the voters. Okay? That then triggered, once it passed, that then triggered a constitutional amendment. So this is going to go into the Georgia Constitution now. All right? It passed. So as of March 1, we have to have decided whether we are opting in or opting out. Okay? If we opt in, we have to do nothing, and we will be governed by the state caps. The tax assessor, tax commissioner, everybody understands that already. Okay? If we opt out, we have a specific procedure that we have to go through with advertising, with meetings, all that stuff, in order to not be governed by the CPI cap. Okay? All right. So the procedures for opting out. The local government must advertise the intent to opt out and conduct at least 3 public hearings on the issue, with at least one of the public meetings occurring between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. That would be one of our regular meetings, and it has to be on a business weekday. The local government must place an advertisement in the newspaper of general circulation serving the residents of the political subdivision and post the advertisement on its website of the local government. The advertisement must appear at least 1 week prior to each hearing, be prominently displayed, be not less than 30 square inches, and not be placed in the section of the paper where legal notices appear. That means it is a separate, independent advertisement. Okay. The advertisement must also be posted on the local government's website 1 week prior to each hearing. In addition to the advertisement, the local government may include in the notice reasons or explanations for its intention to opt out of the homestead exemption. Simultaneously with the notice, the local government must provide a press release to the local media. The advertisement, it gives forms for all these things, whether it's the intent to opt out advertisement, whether it's the resolution that has to be passed after you have the 3 meetings, after you've done all your advertisements. There's a statutorily required resolution that we would have to, that the board would have to pass in order to opt out. Okay? After completing the steps, the local government or school district may then adopt a resolution opting out of the homestead exemption, and that document must be filed with the Secretary of State by March 1, 2025. Okay? All right. So that's the procedures if we want to opt out. In addition, or I should say, because they were handcuffing the counties and the cities and school boards with the new CPI cap, they also introduced a new LOST, okay, local option sales tax. Right now we have LOST, SPLOST, and T-SPLOST locally. This is a new one. It's called the FLOST, and that is the floating homestead local option sales tax. And so what it does is it allows a 1 penny sales tax, just like the LOST and the SPLOST, but it is specifically designed to offset the loss of revenue from the homestead exemption tax cap.
The taxes go up. Sales tax.
What they're doing is they're allowing the counties to get a penny back in exchange for capping everybody's house values. Now, pros and cons. Pros and cons are, yes, it helps you on the tax side. No, it will not replace all the revenue lost. At least that was my understanding from the tax folks. Am I correct from the last meeting? That it will not replace all the revenue lost. Even the FLOST won't. Even if Roberta went with us, it would not. Yes.
So after that fact-finding meeting,
Yes.
and I should have found a way to get this to you as well, we were able to get a hold of the current lost sales tax information.
Okay.
And just the pure numbers, not pros or cons, kind of like what Joel said. I'm not saying we should or shouldn't. It would much more than offset.
Oh, FLOST would. Okay. All right.
A considerably larger amount per year.
Okay.
Potentially.
So here's the caveat. Thank you. I appreciate that. So here's the caveat to that. If this thing was designed primarily, and this is opinion by me, this is not some stated or written fact somewhere, but in looking through all of this, and based upon the fact that municipalities can hold up counties from getting the FLOST, and based upon the preliminary discussions with the city, it sounds like the city is gonna try to opt out, opt out. No, the school board was opting out, the city was undecided, the school board was out. Okay, so the effect that has is if the city opts out, or it doesn't opt out with, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. It is quite complicated. This entire file is all the rules for this.
If we stay in and they opt out.
If we stay in and they opt out, they could stop us from getting flossed. Because you have to have more than 50% of the cities inside of your county go with the county in order to be eligible for the floss. So I say that not to say pro or con, I'm just saying that is the fact. The rules say that if you don't have more than 50% of your cities, you cannot qualify for the floss. Unless the city already has a homestead exemption, a floating homestead exemption, then they would get the minimum, even if they opt out, they would get the minimum of the floss based upon their population, and we could still get it. I know that's really confusing, and I'm trying to boil down 100 pages of material into 10 minutes. So.
Is it gonna be more for the city too, if they opt in? Would be more for the
If they
city
opt
too?
in,
Right.
well, I can't speak to their. Okay, I defer to him. He's the tax guy, not me.
I have some papers. I think Mr. Cook also has one. I think Mr. Smith may also have one as well. We've kind of gone through different numbers and different percentages, but no matter what way we track it, it's a net positive for both on just the pure number side.
Which way are you talking about? Opt in or opt out?
If we opted in,
Okay.
so a good example is, like, one of the first times I ran this, over an 8-year period, if this had been in place since 2018 to now, the county would have collected $4.771 million, and it would have cost us $863,000 for a net of almost $3.9 million just for the county. The city, over that same period of time, it would have cost them about $13,000 in tax revenue, and they would have gained a little over $1.2 million. And I believe when Mr. Cook and I broke it down, it's roughly about $500,000 a year for the county per year that they would be gaining, and losing somewhere around 100 some. What is it? Huh? $95,000 a year, and then, so a gain of almost $400,000 for the county. I don't think we completely broke it down for the city that way yet, because we've been working on these numbers. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah.
The only thing I will say is what I'm seeing with Monroe, Houston County, Bibb County, it affects the schools terribly. Crawford County has a terrible school system as is, so we've got to look at that as a county, because if we want to grow with industry and business, we've got to look at what happened in our school system, because nobody's going to want to come in here.
You check your tax
So
what you're
the
paying.
county and city portion of this has nothing to do with the school board.
Nope, they're
The
separate.
school board can
Right.
completely opt out.
Right.
It won't affect our decisions or anything that
I
we
understand.
do.
I'm just saying that when people are making the decisions, even what he's saying is confusing. We've got to look at the whole picture and how this affects the community as a whole. Property owners, school, there's a lot that goes into this than just one or two pieces. It's a big piece of stuff.
And that is-
Aspects to this that we've got to consider.
Yes.
Raising if we add one more penny sales tax, 1% sales tax, that's gonna raise our sales tax from 8% to 9%. You know, that's gonna make it tough for businesses in the county to compete with surrounding counties. You know, that will make it harder I know it's just a penny sales tax, but that adds up. It's gonna make it harder to attract new industry. It'll make it harder for the development authority to attract new businesses to the county by raising our sales tax to compensate for this. Also, and Nick, I want to sit down with you again. We went over this. I sat down with Nick this afternoon, and he gave me the spreadsheet. We sat down and we looked at some different numbers and tweaked a few things to find more numbers, because the more numbers we have, the better. And we did this over an 8-year period, starting back in 2018 and going up to 2025. But we would be in this from now on until the law changes and we opt out. And if the Norder trend that we looked up says over the past decade, housing prices have been 8.8%. Well, then the CPI hasn't been that. It's been anywhere from 2.4, 1.8. It's fluctuated. It fluctuates every year. And so we looked at those numbers, and we would lose roughly around, starts out at 103 and ends up somewhere around 167 is what we would lose in revenue there. And that's going to continue to compound every year that we're in this. And so right now the numbers look good. 30 years from now they may not look good. And we may end up upside down from where we're at now. So, and Nick, that's something else I'd like to sit down with you and let's try and project this out over maybe the next 20 years and see what those numbers look like. And I do have a question for the attorney. If we go ahead and start the process to opt out, because I know there's a deadline, we would have to go ahead and start the process. Over the course of the next 3 meetings, if we find out more information and things look more enticing to stay in this, we don't have to opt out just because we start the opt-out process.
Correct.
Is that correct?
The only thing that solidifies the opt-out is if we go through the process and we send the resolution to the Secretary of State. That's what finishes the opt-out.
So we can start the opt-out process.
Do it all.
Up to the third meeting.
And I would recommend we do that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there are lots of questions still to be answered, and I agree with you. I think that the 3 meetings was purposefully put there in order for everybody to discuss it, because like we talked about, what happens if inflation runs rampant and CPI doesn't meet our revenue needs, then there's only one option. If your budget won't balance, I mean, we're required to have a balanced budget, and if it won't balance, we'll have to raise the rates, millage rates. That's the way it works.
Yeah,
and
and millage rates, how are they, that's what people need to consider. They can go up considerably.
Well, that was one of the discussions for boards of education around the state, was they don't have the same opportunity that a county or a city does, because they're statutorily capped at 20 mills. So if they start losing money and they raise it to the 20, they can't adjust it going forward.
Go up 5 more mills.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that we go ahead and start the process to opt out.
I think Mr. Melvin's, what I was gonna say is my understanding that the Board of Education and the city are gonna have the public hearings, correct?
I would assume that the Board of Education is. I don't know that for a fact,
They
but the
ran
city.
theirs in the paper this past week, the Board of
Oh, did
Education
they?
did. I
Okay.
haven't
And
seen
I
the
would
city.
recommend that everybody hear and tell others that they should go and get a flavor, whether it be Board of Education, whether it be city, whether it be here, and get educated on this, because we've all got a lot of research to do. We really do.
And we've all dug into it too, and even at the state level, they don't know how it works.
Yeah.
They basically throwed it to us. Here it is. Y'all figure it out and make it work. So
We were still waiting on the Secretary of State to provide the means by which to send them the resolution. We don't have that.
Mr. Johnson?
Just personal pet peeve of mine. I implore everybody when it comes to voting every year, you start going down the ballot and you start getting to these referendums and these initiatives. They are worded. I mean, this thing, I just looked it up. I mean, it passed 63% and 37%. Some of y'all may have voted yes on it. I voted no. We've been burned before on Amendment 1 in 2008, when it was a Save the Forest initiative, and it opened up everybody, it passed, and it opened up corporations to be able to get into this super CUBA, and they get tremendously huge tax breaks. It hurts small counties like us. And this thing, the way that it was worded, it made me feel all warm and fuzzy, I'm gonna get a tax exemption, and it's complicated, and you got these things that you have to consider. I just implore everybody, when you start going in and voting on these referendums, my rule of thumb is if I don't understand it, I vote no on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And because they are never designed, at least in how they're worded. And yet every year I look, every time there's these things just pass overwhelmingly. And I think the legislature needs to be a little bit more specific on these things.
Well, they put,
That's my 2 cents.
they put homestead exemption in bold, where that just sticks out.
Yes.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Tyler.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, on the opt-in, opt-out. Okay, the tax assessors reassessments over the last couple of years raised the value of the properties. And the Board of Commissioners did the right thing. They rolled back to try to help. School board raised 2 years in a row. And they're gonna continue to raise. And at every meeting of the school board, if half this many people showed up, because if you look at your current tax bill, you're paying more taxes to the school than you are to the county.
Yes, sir.
But we come here and raise hell to the commissioners.
That's right.
I'm at the school board raising hell with them on deaf ears. So, a couple of you may disagree with me. I recommend we opt in on House bill. Reason being, the 1% F-splash will help and actually bring in more money. Got it. It could hurt businesses for that extra 1 penny. But I would rather pay that extra 1 penny by shopping locally than having my taxes go up again. Saving grace is, if it doesn't work, commissioners, then you can have the option to raise taxes. School board is gonna raise taxes next year and the year after that. I'm talking to them. They're gonna go broke if they don't. But at least I think they've got 4 or 5 meals only they can go up, and they'll
They can only
be
go up
capped.
5 more meals.
5 more meals. Does anybody actually know what the school board millage rate is compared to the county?
15.
Tell us, tax assessors.
15.
Almost 2 meals higher.
2 meals higher. School board. So that's where your money's going. Your money's going to the school board. Is it for a great cause? Yes. School systems are for a great cause. But do we have the best school system for the money that we're paying? My recommendation is to opt in, commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions, comments?
I want to add one more thing. I think, there's been a lot of talk about that on 13 and everything. Like I said, y'all look at Houston County, they're planning on opting out. They're much bigger than us. And they got a lot more revenue coming in than us. So I think these are the things we need to consider. Monroe County's opting out, Houston County, Bibbs looking at it. Mayor Miller had a thing on the thing today. People are back and forth there. I think everybody really needs to do their research.
We've been trying to keep up with all our
Yeah.
surrounding
counties that's the size of us.
And one more thing to consider, if we do decide to opt out of this, and, we bring in more industry, more jobs to the county, in the future, we can create local legislation and create our own floating local homestead exemption. Other counties have done that. But they're on a better tax base financially than we are.
Right.
As far as sales tax. So that's an option if we do opt out of this. Once we get on better footing for a sales tax base, create our own floating local option homestead or floating homestead, and then we can do the floss then too, because you have to have the floating homestead in order to do a floss, correct?
Yeah.
So that's always an option too if we opt out.
And another thing for me personally, I know we talk about that 1% sales tax, and it would pass it out between everybody, but we have businesses closing. So how much are we actually supporting the businesses in Crawford County? So what's gonna happen if we're not even supporting businesses, businesses are closing, you know, yeah, yeah.
Just in the city.
Right, so
They
that's
support.
revenue loss. You have people that will not drive and support businesses currently as they are, they're gonna go to Macon, so what will we be losing? That's what everybody needs to look at.
I really believe this bill was designed for the larger counties like Fulton, DeKalb, places like that.
Henry
If you
County,
look
all
at
those.
this deal and the guy that came up with it and sponsored it, he lives in Alpharetta. Alpharetta, which is way different than Crawford County.
Well, if you think about it, monetarily,
Money.
it makes sense. It makes sense for the big counties like that to have wanted this because you're shifting the tax burden away from the houses to the businesses. And if you have a huge industrial base or a huge commercial base like Henry County, I mean, for you they stand to make a lot of money. So. Okay, so are we deciding, we're,
Still need to set your dates.
I feel like maybe we should have a vote to move forward with the opt-out. We're not voting on the resolution.
There's a motion on the floor, right?
Did you make a motion?
I made a motion.
Okay.
Can you repeat the motion?
I make a motion that we start the process to opt out of House Bill 581.
Got it. Motion and a second, Mr. Melvin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
And it'll be real important for people in this community to attend the 3 meetings that's gonna happen. I'll say that, I'm on live, there's a lot of people on the live, there's a lot of people sitting in here. It's time for everybody to step up and be involved in this community.
Everybody needs to do their homework.
Everybody needs to do their homework on this, how is it gonna affect you totally? And we're gonna have 3 meetings and everybody needs to be at those meetings.
So the city and the Board of Education is gonna be meeting as well on this,
And
correct?
that's what I said earlier, if they're a meeting, everybody needs to attend and get a flavor
Everywhere
of all
board
of it,
commissioner meeting.
not just.
What about them meetings? What about the school board meetings? They're not gonna intertwine with
We
each
have to do
other.
our own.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're not, we make sure they're not on the same day.
We don't meet on the same day. Well, the Board of Education, does they meet the same day we do?
Yep.
Well, how will those meetings go? Like if the board's opting out and then you got the city and the county, will they all be meetings together or everybody just have their separate meetings? So it's important for people to attend the Board of Education meeting.
We have to run it in the paper for 7 complete business days, right? And so by the time our next meeting, the 21st, it won't be long enough. So it'll be after that, which will be February the 4th.
So should we have a call meeting for the first meeting? And then try to make the rest of the other 2 work out?
That's
Well,
fine.
you still got the school board on the same night as us.
So we can do a call meeting, the week of the 27th of January, maybe that Tuesday?
That's Memorial, that's President's Day weekend.
No, it's
What if we start the first meeting on our regular meeting with
on the 4th.
and then
And then do
hold
2
the other
meetings.
meeting on our second meeting, but hold one that morning at
Morning.
10:00.
Okay.
What day are you saying? February 4th?
February
and then what?
4th, and then the next one would be, February the 18th, do one at 10 and one at 6.
And one at 6.
Is that good with you all?
Yes. Our only requirement is that one of the 3 has to be a regular.
So the one for February 4th would be at 6 p.m. February 18th, 10 a.m.
And
6 p.m.
I'm laughing at my boss. I gotta ask, is it gonna be okay, sir?
Depends on the schedule.
Okay, thank you.
But please do y'all's homework, cause we're trying to figure this stuff out. I mean, it's clear as mud. I mean, it's, even our experts back here has been digging constantly, so.
Alright, it's a 27-page long bill. It's a lot of complexities to it.
There's large portions of it we can't even opt out, that are just law as of January 1st.
Yeah.
That are
When we was in
change
Athens,
all kinds of stuff.
It was so many
we had
unasked questions.
3 people in a training session told us 3 different things. Nobody had the same comment.
Well, that's the way it was when we were at that seminar. There were so many questions asked there that day by tax assessor boards that they couldn't answer.
We don't have an answer for that.
That doesn't
We
give
don't
us a
have
warm
an
and
answer
fuzzy
for
on
that.
saying this.
Well, I mean, I've probably had 40 or 50 emails just amongst the county attorneys across the state because everybody is debating what the language means. And so, if we don't understand everything about it, then, I mean, I don't know how the citizens are supposed to understand all the nuances. But hopefully, this was as close to the bare bones of what it means and how it works.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I would just like to say, why would you vote yes on something that you don't know about? You know, they walking into you know, you don't know what you're up against. You know, why vote on it? Why vote? Would you vote yes on something that you got $1 million? Would you invest $1 million in something that you don't know about?
You know what they see? Tax savings.
You know, it's there, you know.
That's how they market it.
That's how they sell
Almost
it.
said receive savings on property tax. Well, that's good for landowners, but far as the county in a whole, I mean, there's a lot of unknown variables.
It was worded deliberately to make it look good.
But we gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
I make a motion to go to executive session.
Got a motion to go to executive session?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.